So I'm a marketer by profession and also by heart. So my career journey, well, if you go back to, I am Bangalore, so I did a marketing major. And as a child, I always liked watching ads. So I'm glad my parents didn't force me to the usual doctor, lawyer, engineer route. My mom's a doctor, my father's a lawyer, and my brother took over as a doctor. So they were looking at me to be daddy's little girl and follow his footsteps. But luckily, they didn't force me and they let me do my own thing. So my career has always been about marketing, right? So I've have 10, almost over a decade of experience doing marketing for big financial brands, big financial banks like HSBC, Aviva, insurance companies like Tokyo Marine, even local companies like Great Eastern. But more recently, so for the past 2 years, I've been driving marketing for a tech startup called Carro, and I'm their group CMO. Cars, right? How buying and selling of cars really happens in Southeast Asia. Overall, I'm very excited about technology and innovation. And as a marketer, I believe that technology is highly democratized, right? Technology is easy, but it's how you make it applicable to a human in a day-to-day such way that it's almost intuitive the way they interact with it. And I think that's where a marketer skill is very important. Because if you can't simplify it, then nobody's going to use it, even if it's the fanciest technology and the most pretty technology out there. So I am very passionate about that, and I've led some of Singapore's first innovations, such as first chatbot from a life insurer. This was like 4 years ago. Singapore's first car subscription service, Singapore's first usage-based insurance where you pay it as you drive. You don't pay in advance. And also Singapore's first car subscription service. We nickname it the Netflix for cars. So yeah, technology, innovation, cars, marketing, that's pretty much jumbled up all me in my career. Study that was done, that was reported by Channel News Asia sometime middle of September, which has just been last month. And they did this globally, but if you zoom into just Singapore, about close to 500 people were interviewed, and say that 22% were less willing to take buses and trains, and another 39% were more willing to commute by car. And this is for a country where cars are most expensive in the world. So we are seeing that if somebody is already spending an X amount of dollars or rupiah into their mobility needs, if it in the past was for shared mobility, they're now consolidating it, and they would rather buy a car, and that too a used car. So the used car market is actually going up. This huge demand. In fact, there's not enough supply. Something that we're seeing. Another interesting trend that we're seeing is the footfall in showrooms. So car showrooms, known for their jazz and glamour, is actually decreasing because of two things, right? One is it used to be a space where you go and probably bring your family along. You explore the car together. The kids get to go on a test drive. But now, because of pandemic, this is sort of taken a backseat, and it's purely based on needs basis. And that brings us to the next trend that we see is more people are willing to try to push going contactless in terms of purchasing cars as much as possible. So I'm not saying that, they'll buy a car from an e-commerce site like Lazada tomorrow. No, it's not going to happen so soon. But if there's a good mix of digitization and a small component, which is like a hybrid, where customers can still kick the tires, can still smell the leather on the engine, then they'll be comfortable with that. So we actually launched Singapore's first contactless car purchase service, where you can essentially buy a car end to end, see it as well, without ever physically meeting a human being. And that has been very, very interesting journey for us. And we changed the entire customer experience. Even the value proposition we had to rethink. So these are the trends that we see coming up more and more. So traditional brands got to keep up. CX has to evolve, and tech has to deliver. The number one skill is having a learner's mindset. Right, because there's no way that you would know everything. That is very important. The moment I see even for myself, that I think I know this well enough. Let's just put it this way: the moment I start getting bored in a role, I would most likely leave, because to me that is the time that I'm not value adding anymore. So number one thing is learner's mindset. If you're not learning, you're not growing, you're not being fair to yourself, you're not being fair to the company. So that's one. Second is adaptability, which is quite closely related to having a learner's mindset, right? And adaptability would mean, like for me, I moved from MNC to a startup. Now, everything is different here, right? Even my whole, very shallowly put, but even my wardrobe had to change. I didn't have so many t-shirts, but I had to go and buy. Right, but you have to adapt, because if you don't adapt, you don't fit in. And adaptability is also like in a startup, is doing more with less. Even so, I had access to all these fancy MarTech tools when I was working in multinational. But you come to a startup and you start questioning: do I really need to spend that much? What insight can that MarTech tool give me that is not really common sense? Right, so you start to question a lot more, and that's where adaptability is very important. You could do with $1 million budget. Can you do the same with $10,000? You'll be surprised. You actually can, right? And in India, the concept is jugaad, right? So you have to be a jugadu. You have to be adaptable. So yeah, learner's mindset, adaptability. And number three is really hands-on skills. So I know that on paper, even someone like me looks, very proper. St. Stephen's College. I am Bangalore. But honestly, those things only open doors for you and gives you the connections. But if you don't have the hands-on skills, it's very hard to not only survive, but also to thrive and to shine. And it's something that I encourage my team as well, that don't always talk about strategy and big picture things. I mean, all that is fine. It will come eventually. But if you don't have those hands-on skills, that if my somebody in my team is on medical leave, can I step in and do her work? I most often can. Is because I literally went from ground up. And that is of value. So sometimes when people get promoted, prematurely, I've seen them fail miserably. So one of the things I've learned, right, and I've seen is people don't often focus on their strengths. A lot of people focus on their gaps, which to me is quite sad. I would say more people should focus on their strengths rather than the weaknesses. Because if you pick a career or a line that really leverages your strengths, like me, right? I love advertising as a kid, and now I'm doing marketing. Not only would you be happier, but you will not feel tired. You will probably do things relentlessly, and just the interest is going to drive you. So focus on your strengths. It will also build your self-confidence. Boost your morale, and you have a lot stronger chance of success rather than focusing on the gaps. Second is, I call it the 1% rule, which means the difference between a mediocre and somebody who is always ahead of the game is actually putting in that 1% more effort, which normal people wouldn't do. So every piece of work that you do, right, especially stuff that matters, not everything, of course, we go mental, but stuff that matters, right, once you've finished it, ask yourself, what is my 1% that I've put in, which I wouldn't have put in otherwise? And that's how you will really be a class apart from the rest. It doesn't take a lot, honestly. So that's number two. And number three is, once you say yes to something, don't look back. Don't look back. So when I said yes to joining startup world, before that I was having a bit of a mixed, feeling that should I not, because I had a very stable career. But once you have decided and you said, then give it your best shot, because you owe it to yourself. Yeah, don't always keep thinking, oh, what if this, what if that? No, just tell yourself that life is over and just go all out. Yeah, so those are the two things.